2026 and 2027 are the years of exposure. We're in a cycle towards the golden light of deep wisdom. We are in a time on earth of great awakening, because your soul especially heard the frequency call of Mother Earth. Your soul felt it, heard it, and knew, I need to be down there. I need to be on earth during this time of awakening, because one day in the future, awakening will no longer exist because no one will fall asleep.
Natalie, welcome to the podcast, my lovely.
Oh, it's so lovely to be here with you.
Likewise. And I wanted to just dive straight in on this episode and see what happens, right? Because you have your own podcast as well, and you quite often touch on your perspectives of the shifting energies that are continually happening on the planet right now. And I feel it's really hard to put into words, especially depending on where our level of awareness is at within ourselves and that this relationship. But what do you feel is going on, and why is it happening right now? Because I know you specifically said as well around 2026 to 2033, there's a lot of conversation that's happening. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, perspectives, and what's been coming in for you.
Oh, Guy, it's big. There's so much happening. Like, everyone can already start to feel like we are quantum leaping. We're not just crawling along. Our spiritual awakening is happening faster. People are more are opening and expanding. Like the mind field, like our mind, the field of the mind is expanding hugely. And so with this, there's a lot of information that I've been getting because I'm going through it too. So I'm shedding layers of patterns and fears and whatever has been living inside of my energy field. And as I release it and become more clear and open, I started to connect with these beings that are such an advanced intelligence. It started with, I came back from America, back to Central America where I live, and the electricity was going wild. And I was like feeling electricity in my body. And I went to bed one night, and next minute I was just having this telepathic communication with these beings, and they took me remote viewing. So I left my body and I went to the coastline of California.
All this was happening on your couch? You just went off, gone?
Gone.
Sorry to interrupt. When was this?
I mean, this is very recent. I would say a month and a half ago.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Please keep going.
So I'm going with these beings, and they're taking me under the water. So I'm going under the ocean. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I've heard from like other channelers, and I've kind of always sensed that there are beings under the ocean. And you know what they showed me? They showed me, you know, the sequin clothing. If you've got kids, they like to wear it where you brush down the sequins one way and you've got one pattern, and then you brush the sequins up another way and it's a different pattern. They showed me that, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. And what it means is they're multidimensional beings. So for me, in my understanding, I'm like, oh, there are beings that live under the ocean, but because they live in higher dimensions as well, in the higher dimensions, that isn't ocean anymore. It's like canyons and mountains, and it's a whole different experience. So they were showing me that and reminding me of how we are all multidimensional beings. Yes, we have contracted our light and focused our mind so that we can have a human embodied experience. But that doesn't mean that our light is still not vibrating in all other directions. Like when we go to sleep at night, we're traveling into these other dimensions. So these beings connected with me in such a profound way that it cracked me open hugely. And I started to ask them some of the big questions, like what are we going through, and like what's happening in 2026, 2027. And then they took me remote viewing to, and it's uncomfortable to speak about because I never really talk about the dark, but it is here. So we kind of have to talk about it. they showed me that there are people, and it's weird because it doesn't feel like government, but people that have a lot of money and power that are holding some amazing information, and that 2026 and 2027 are the years of exposure. And they showed me some things that these people have already got access to. 0 point energy. So here in our universe, there is so much energy available, and when it gets exposed and when we can start to work with it, we won't need to use oil or like the old ways in which we've been working with energy. This is going to change our world massively. Then also getting the sense of how they've been in contact with UFOs and ships, and how they are learning how to create these advanced technologies like propulsion systems that can bend gravity, consciousness responsive craft. Yeah, basically it just feels like very expansive, and that it's already existing. Like there are already people that have a lot of money and power, and that they're already uncovering this and kind of working with it. And so these next 2 years are big years of exposure, meaning the people that have the power and the money, they're still trying to control and cling, but something's happening inside of all of us. As we awaken, as we remember the infinite light that we are the ones that are creating our reality, we are creating massive waves of frequency change. We are becoming lighter, and we're able to actually embody light codes that are coming in from other galaxies, from like 3A Atlas brought in a lot of light codes, from our own solar system, our star families. More and more people are tuning in and are able to communicate telepathically with the angels, with the higher frequency beings. So it's happening. And as we individually take responsibility to dissolve the darkness and shadow inside ourselves, because this is important what they said. They said, Natalie, the outer world is an appearance, a reflection based off your frequency. So as a collective mind, humans have agreed to certain things, and now we're going, no to certain things, no to the schooling, and no to this control. And we're slowly starting to say no and take our power back. And so as this happens, what's very important, what they talk about, is that we take responsibility for our own inner shadows, our own mind, the way in which our own mind communicates with us. Like, notice if your mind puts you down, if it tries to control you, if it tries to make you do things from a scarcity and lack point. That's all low frequency behavior. And that sends out frequency waves that are lower, which is then creating our outer reality. And that's why we have wars and all sorts of different lower frequency things that are unfolding. So what's happening is we're taking more responsibility, and we're cleaning out and clearing out our own mind. We are holding space for emotions to come up and out, rather than being held in our system, vibrating a lower frequency. And as we're clearing and opening up, we're then able to have communication with these advanced beings, with these beings of light, and they are helping us. And what it's doing is it's helping us to connect with our future self, or our higher self, which is also raising our frequency and making huge changes in our world. So two things. We are becoming more aware of the light that we are, and having big upgrades in the light that we can carry in our physical body, and going through ascension symptoms like hearing different frequencies, seeing energies through our physical eyes, experiencing like the electric current in our body, and we're getting more comfortable with it. And then with the higher frequencies, it's then exposing the darkness, not just within ourselves, but in our outer reality. And so then we've got more and more opportunity for disclosure, hearing and knowing about the extraterrestrials, these other beings that are here to support us, and also knowing about these advanced technologies that are already starting to be tested and checked out by other people. And what they're also showing me is multidimensional DNA coming online. So, and then I asked, okay, well, what's this? And they're saying, well, DNA is actually changeable, and these dormant strands, they've only been like dormant because you've been so finite in your mind. You've been like put in a box, and now you're expanding your mind and you're remembering, hold on, I'm not just a human, I'm not just a mind, I'm not identifying just with the small percentage of thoughts that I have. There's a deeper part of me. I'm an infinite creative being, and as we tap into this, the strands of DNA are starting to activate, and they're awakening, and they're becoming more adaptive. What I'm being told is that they're becoming more responsive, regenerative, and far more changeable than we've ever believed before. So, like, I then got shown what aging looks like. Still aging, so it's interesting. I was shown, and this might change, because as we change our perception and our thoughts and our emotions, we send new frequency waves out and we change our reality. So this is based off our current trajectory, is that we, as we age, we'll still get like wrinkles and like, because our body is aging. We're gonna leave our physical body, maybe gray hair, all of that, but less and less physical illness and disease, because physical illness and disease is caused by holding on to our traumas, our ancestral patterns, that which we were told by our parents or society or our culture that kept us very confined and blocked. We're no longer staying in that energy field. We're cracking open and we're holding more light, which means we're clearer. Our channel is clearer for more energy and light to flow from the universe and from the earth into the cells of our body, which is creating more clarity, more openness, more health, more vitality. So instead of dying from disease and pain, we can actually spend our last few years on earth meditating, being conscious, being more in the light fields, being in a space of love, and we can then consciously move our awareness up to the top of our head and leave and let our soul leave out of our body. And that's conscious dying, which means we stop the wheel of karma, cause and effect, meaning that souls don't need to incarnate based on causes that might be low frequency that they've created in their life, meaning that new, fresh energy comes through souls that are born on earth. I feel like I'm giving you so much.
There's a lot here. I'll jump in for a sec, because there is a lot to unpack there. It's interesting. I'm reading Drunvalo Melchizedek's latest book, which is The Flower of Life 3, and he speaks about that karmic cycle actually, and illuminating the awakened heart, and that is our soul body. And as we activate and illuminate that, which isn't that hard to do, that is that we take it with us when we move on. So we come outside of that cycle, which I find really interesting. So that's the first point I want to mention to that, because that resonates as well. And then the DNA resonates a lot as well, because I can feel that's been happening in my own body. And what's interesting, I always think of that image of the jellyfish that moves through the water. There needs to be a contraction, then an adaptation for an expansion to occur, which propels us forward. And over the last 18 months, those waves have been coming faster for me. And it's like the depths of contraction that are needed to be released for that expansion to propel me forward on a personal level has been wild. I actually never, until you go through it, it's really hard to put into words, or we go down the materialistic route, which is, oh, this means this, I'm just going to numb the symptoms and actually not feel into what's going on. Where I ended a soul contract, literally, Natalie, about 2 weeks ago. I think I mentioned it on a podcast the other day, but my lineage on my dad's side was it got to the point where my soul was expanding more, and it was time to end that contract. And I ended it because there was a sense of loyalty to my lineage, but it was actually holding me as a soul back through the traumas and everything that they gone through. And my whole body the next day went into convulsion, and I released it. It was unbelievable. And it was a bit rough as well. I thought, surely there's an easier way to do this. Like, come on. So that happened. So that as you say these things, and when you experience them, I feel different in my body again. And these layers just continue to happen. So all that I agree with. The remote viewing. So let's lean into that a bit. So when they showed you, and when you were going to these different areas, was this all happening in this window of 26 to 33 that you speak of, or was it a deeper timeline? Was there a point that was showing you, or was it more vague?
Yes. So they specifically honed in on 2026 and 27 being like this massive exposure and disclosure time, deeper connection, everything I've already explained. And then they took me like through like a tunnel of light and energy to see into 2033. And I get goosebumps and such love in my heart because, Guy, our Earth actually looks visibly different. She is vibrating golden light. So I got to see the Earth and I got to see how she looks now. And now she's got a lot of green and blue. And they showed me that the green light is that she's working really on focusing on bringing balance. Like, so for example, if one area of the Earth goes into a strong El Nino phase, and then there's going to be, so that very, very dry areas, then there'll be another part of the Earth, so El Nino, and then El Nino is wet, El Nino is dry. I think I've got that right. Please excuse me if I've got it wrong, but basically what she's doing is counterbalancing. If there's like dry spells in some areas of the Earth, then there's a lot of water and flooding in another. And that's what the Earth is consciously doing to try to create harmony, because we've been like a bit distorted for a while on our Earth, because we've been focused on more of the ego, and that's now changing. So she's working with us, and she's working with the green light, the green energy of creating harmony and balance. Then I also got shown the blue light. She's working with the blue light of expression. And so we are noticing like earthquakes and more volcanoes erupting. Like, this is a lot of time right now over these few years where our Earth is releasing some energies that have been stuck and trapped inside of her, which is mirroring what we're also doing. And so I got to see that, how she is now doing amazing work at trying to create balance with all what's going on and holding the energies and releasing and expressing what no longer suits the higher timelines that we're starting to move towards. Then in 2033 got shown our Earth with so much golden light. And I said, well, what does that mean? This golden light is the energy of wisdom. So what it feels like is we expand our perception and our consciousness to tap into the fields of the great wisdom that our like ancestors that used to live on the Earth, they used to know. And us souls, when we used to be on the Earth during times of Atlantis or Lemuria, that we also knew. So it feels like we're in a cycle towards the golden light of deep wisdom, not just finite thinking of survival and separatism, but expanding through the heart and unity consciousness mind.
To me, energy is flowing and expanding, and then we are part of that if we are creation with it, an expression of creation itself. So the question I have for you then, was you shown people that are resisting this flow of energy and expanding? Because we see it in on daily patterns, when as we are shown or something is expanding within us, we tend to resist it because it's leaning into the unknown. And through that resistance, the pain becomes greater until we break. So we dig our heels in. did they show you anything around that as a species? Are we, because quite often we hear of people are splitting, that some are going to go this way and some are going to stay put and burrow in deeper. What are your thoughts on that?
It feels true that there are those who are very identified with their personality, with the character. I mean, they think that they are that. They've forgotten, like we all have at some point in our journey, forgotten that we are this infinite consciousness having a human experience. And so for them, what I am shown is that they get even more angels coming in with a pink light of compassion, understanding, and support. So because it's not always easy when you dig your heels in and you actually kind of entrap yourself in these lower frequencies. And so there's even more angels to support anyone that's going through that timeline. And yes, it does feel like a split. And also, it's okay. We're in the land of duality. All is well. Those who feel like going that way and those who are being guided by the heart frequency and opening and expansion will go the other way. And there will be a point where it feels like we do come back to unity. But for now, as those people who are digging their heels in, they need a bit more time. They're not ready like we are ready. And it would be a shock for their system to be able to absorb the amount of light that those of us who are open can absorb. And like it could actually cause them to have like strokes and all sorts of things. So they're being held by more and more angels of the pink, loving, conditional, unconditional, compassionate frequency as they slowly move in their slower timeline.
How do you see the roles of angels? Because even that word can be triggering for people and conjure up also, like the word God or whatever it might be. We have so many belief systems around it and perceptions of it that we probably don't even stop to explore within ourselves. How do you see that role?
Yeah. So I feel like because angels are not non-dom, they're not attached to a religion, they're coming through in new ways for people. For example, all of a sudden, someone will see a butterfly and start to experience or experience like a connection to something lighter. Or someone will see the number 1111 and realize, oh, I keep seeing 1111. And so angels will start to enter in ways that people are more comfortable with. And so what has to happen and is starting to happen is that the religious view of how angels are starts to release and people are then less judgmental or critical, and that like just all you have to do is crack open a little bit, be a little bit curious, and you'll start to feel like a deep support and a huge love. My friend, she was once in a car accident. Her car, I think it rolled like 5 times, and she said to me, and she didn't really believe in angels. She said to me, Natalie, now I do, because I felt like a hand hold me and keep me in my seatbelt, and I survived, and I walked out there with bruises and scratches. So angels are coming in different ways for different people. So I feel like the perception's changing around it, like less of like this being of light and more of this deep support that is here, and that helps.
I'm actually here right now at a retreat space in Taupo, New Zealand, and it's beautiful. And it really brings home the difference between understanding this work and actually living it. Because that's what retreats can do and why we're so passionate about it. They give you the space to slow down, to reconnect, and truly let something deeper land. So it's not just an idea, but it's a lived experience. That's why we created Live in Flow. So if you've been feeling this shift in your own life and you know you're ready to go deeper, then come back to liveinflow.co to find out more. Anyway, back to the episode. Yeah, okay. So just on a different dimension, essentially, on a plane that is supporting us through this time. Yeah.
Yeah, we can even change the name. We don't have to say angels. Like if someone has resistance to calling them angels, call them beings of light.
Yeah. No, it's fine because I try not to let my head get in the way, because different beings come in, especially at our retreats that we hold when we hold space, and the resonance is there. And different people, depending, not everyone, but different people have different experiences, including myself, that come through that are very supportive. And I just find the whole thing fascinating once you really start to get into that resonance, and we can hold it more and more in our daily lives, which I think is the name of the game at the end of the day as well. On that, if we are beings of light, having a physical experience, what do you like? What caught my eye? You mentioned as well. You had a near-death experience about healing your body with light. And I'm fascinated if you could break that down a little bit as well, because in terms of my own health and regeneration, because I never look at the body as healed. Like the body's in constant flux, so it's always healing. It's always turning over. Cells are turning over. So it's like, how can I create an environment that can thrive on a daily basis? That's how I look at these things these days. And I've certainly lent into more about thinking of frequency and light in supporting a resonance where cells are actually being generated from, than actually just the physical aspect as well. So I'd love you to share about what you've learned, your experience, your NDE, and all around that for us.
Well, as you started speaking about healing, I got shown this image. Yes, the body's always healing. And what does healing mean? Healing means coming back to wholeness. So the great intelligence of the physical body is always working to counterbalance and create harmony, always working towards coming back to wholeness. So we might do things, eat things, or experience things that then take us away from wholeness, and the great intelligence of the body is then bringing us always back to wholeness. That's its focus. It's programmed that way. This is what the angels are saying. So okay, so then to my near-death experience, that was in 2007, and I got there's 5 different types of malaria, and only one that kills. I got that one, cerebral malaria, and I was traveling with a friend in Indonesia. I was in Bali, and I had to be airlifted out of Indonesia to Singapore because I was dying, and they couldn't help me. They didn't have the right things that I needed. I wasn't responding. So I spent like 2.5 weeks in total, in and out. My friend said she came and looked at my body. She's never seen white lips, like a corpse. She was just like, and the doctors were saying, like, we need her, these certain markers to go up, and then we'll know that she's reached a point that there's hope. And so my friend was, just holding space and being there for me while I was in and out. I have like energetic memory of what I experienced when I was out. And it's like, I'm shown, it was a soul contract that I would always return to the higher dimensions while I was still in a body. So this was like part of my destiny, that I'd have this near-death experience. And I left my body and I went into this light, and 120 angels, these angels that I work with, were all there, and they were just like, welcome. This is where this planned for you to be here. Apparently, my soul had said, in order for me to go to Earth and to have some challenges, because I've had depression and I've had some big challenges in my life, I would meet the angels and reconnect with the frequencies and the colors and light, so that I could come back to Earth and help people to connect with angels, help people to connect with how they can heal themselves. And so I was working with different frequencies and different colors, beaming, say, the color yellow, bringing through yellow, and it was going into my solar plexus, my diaphragm area, and it was healing all the belief patterns that I wasn't good enough. And I'd been born into this lifetime with a mum who had all those beliefs. So I had those patterns from the womb, so they were strong in my field. And so I was working with the yellow. The angels were singing. There was like frequencies, toning, sounds. And so I was aware of my body receiving these light codes, these colors, working with the pink light into the heart of self-love, placing that in the cells of my body, because for so long in my life, there'd been times where I just didn't love myself at all, and that had communicated to the cells of my body and was holding that. So, and then white light for purification and cleansing and raising the frequency. So, and then the angels would say, Natalie, go back into the body. We need all your soul light focused and condensed back into physical so that it can repair. It needs all your light and your focus. So then I'd bring my soul back into my body. I'd kind of come round. I have a few vague memories of being in the body and trying to eat or drink some watermelon juice. And then I'd go back and be with them. And then there was one last time where they said, well, you're going to go back now. You're not dying. You're not leaving your body. You've got things to do on earth. It's time to go back. And every time I replay that or feel it, it's so emotional because of the connection with them. It's different when we're in a body. It was so much more like a oneness feeling. And then I knew, and I said goodbye, but I know it's not goodbye because they're always here. But goodbye in that way of such like ease of communication and connection and feeling and experience. And then I came back into my body and brought all my soul light focused into every single cell. Opened my eyes and I knew this is it. And like with willpower and with energy focus, I started to, those counts that were going down, stopped going down, and within a few days started to slowly go up. And with time, I completely healed myself and was completely able to walk out of that hospital, which was incredible.
Yeah, that is incredible. What's coming to my mind as you share that story is that the light that you speak of and the healing and the wounds that it was healing within yourself, especially like you spoke about inherited through your mother's womb and things like that as well, they actually got nothing to do with the malaria. They're like two separate things, but the body is healing. Have you reflected upon that itself and that relationship? Because logic would say you're healing what the malaria has done to the body per se, but what you're speaking of from a very different perspective.
Thank you for asking that question, because the answers are coming in and I'm having memories coming up. So this is what I'm understanding, we only magnetize in experiences, illnesses, diseases as a frequency match, meaning that all that I was holding inside of me, of that lack of self-worth, and I was really depressed many times throughout my life, and actually suicidal and just missing home, which I would call it that frequency of the angels. And because that had impacted my energy, the frequency codes that were held in my body, I was sending out a frequency wave that was lower, that magnetized in the malaria for a breakthrough opportunity and experience. So my friend who was traveling with me, she was taking anti-malaria tablets, so was I. She was spraying herself, I wasn't, but I never really get bitten by mosquitoes, but I got bitten. And so it was because of my frequency. It was a frequency match. I was meant to go through it. It was my destiny. And so the malaria itself, it attacked all my organs. So like every organ was going down. So it started with my brain, but then so I actually was losing my mind. When I was still in Indonesia, I had a call with the travel insurance, and I was like, no, I'm not. I said to them, I'm not sick. I'll be fine. I was like, do not send me to Singapore. Just let me be here. And soon I'm going to be walking out of here, because my brain was being attacked, which is the hardware of the mind, which is the software. So I wasn't able to like perceive properly and clearly. And so it started with my brain. And then it moved to like my liver, they said, the kidneys, all sorts. Everything was like just going down. And so what I understand from that was that not just from this lifetime, but also previous lifetimes, I had been killed as a witch. I've been shown past lives where I was a witch and I was killed. I've been in past lives being a teacher and a guide and been stopped from doing that. So many times in lifetimes before, I've been blocked and stopped from being a light being and sharing what I'm here to share. So actually in this lifetime, I was born remembering the light and communicating with the angels from a very young age and channeling a lot of light. But I then, as a teenager, got super scared in the fears of those past lives. And so there was all of that in my energy field that needed clearing. It was a lot. Ancestral, past lives, and my own patterns and beliefs that were blocking me in this lifetime. That's what magnetized in the malaria.
Wow. So are you saying as well then, let me just get my words for a sec. So you mentioned as well, you know, coming into life and then going through a state of depression and even suicidal thoughts and things like that at a stage in your life, that the imprint of the field within is what's actually creating that state of being. And through clearing the field, it's releasing what's needed to be released. And then the body can function accordingly to what the field is resonating with.
Exactly. So our biology is responding, our body is responding to our thoughts, our emotions, especially if we have recurring beliefs that put us down and like judge us and are critical of us. And what we hear from our parents and others, like that all adds up and becomes like condensed energy in the field and blocks the meridians, the rivers that flow with energy. And then as that blocks, it sends out these frequencies of blocked energy, which bring about opportunities to clear these blockages so that we can be more of the light of our soul embodied. Because it's like if you've got a room full of stuff, full of clutter, those are all the beliefs and the patterns that we've collected over lifetimes and ancestral patterns. And then we start shining a light in the room, start cleaning it out, clearing it out. Then there's more spaciousness there. And where there's space, more of consciousness, the light that we are, can be embodied. And that changes our frequency. That's when we start to vibrate in a higher frequency and magnetizing in higher timelines.
What? Yeah, no, that makes sense. So what have you learned from this as well? Because the way I kind of see it, even on my own journey and what I witness by being in front of a lot of people, is that I always say there's a point where the rubber meets the road, where where you start coming up against those patterns, and then the body contracts and we go into those states that we've been constantly perpetuating anyway. And the breakthrough is on the other side of that. And being able to actually navigate ourselves and understand what it is to hold space for ourselves, to move through that, to help it release. And to me, that's where the true wisdom lies, is in those moments. And it's very easy for somebody to continue to stay outside of themselves and want somebody else to wave a magic wand for that to go away so they never have to go through it, per se. And I'm not saying it needs to be torturous or painful, but I'd just love to hear your thoughts on that, because I really feel there's a point where expansion and growth requires courage and loving commitment and actually getting over ourselves to move forward into that.
Absolutely, Guy. So what I've been shown is that the energy of acceptance holds the high frequency love. So when we're going through something, our greatest gift is to soften and allow and accept whatever's coming up in the present moment. So if it's strong emotions, then instead of running away from them or attaching to good ones, which is also running away, no longer running away and turning towards the present moment. The physical body is the portal to the present. So bringing awareness into the body and breathing in and out of the body. And I do this practice where I breathe in the light and I breathe out all that stuck energy. And as I breathe it out, I feel it releasing, and I sense it like gray dust taken away and turning back into light. And so softening, being courageous and turning towards and going within and accepting. And also to know that this too shall pass. Law of nature in this dimension states that everything changes, meaning our thoughts change, our emotions change, our physical body changes. The only constant is our spirit. But that really is multidimensional. I'm talking about this dimension. Law of nature is everything changes. So knowing that gives you like, okay, I'm going through a hard time now, but this is going to change. Doesn't mean you're avoiding now. It just means that you know in your heart that you're going to get through this. It's not going to stay like this forever. And that the light of your soul shines so bright that it can dissolve any darkness, any shadow. So by going inside and being with the emotions, instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Ask, where in my body am I experiencing this? And your body will show you, and you'll notice, I got aches and pains over here. And you breathe in and out of that area. And through the acceptance and the softening, stuff starts to come up and move out. And the more and more you hold space for it, the deep-rooted, like past lives and ancestral stuff comes up. And sometimes it can get worse before it gets easier, but that's a good sign. That's a sign that you're not just brushing off the surface patterns. You're doing the deep, heavy work. You're actually taking out the roots and clearing them out of your system. So, the key really is to love yourself, to accept what's arising, to give space for it to bubble up to the surface and release out of you. And that is the most powerful gift you can give to yourself.
I know. No, that's well said. It's interesting. We see that all the time, and actually navigating that in a group of large people can be challenging sometimes, because I think people come into this work with a certain perception of what it is, but then there's a reality to that. And if somebody's sitting there and all of a sudden they're starting to feel in pain, or as the energy's starting moving, if we're not creating enough awareness with us around us on a daily basis, it's so easy then to project it externally and put a story to that meaning, and then we're not allowing the body to move through what it's actually been trying to get your attention for, probably for the last 20 years anyway. And then we go into story mode, victim mode, and continue to perpetuate the problem as opposed to being with it. And we see it so all the time. It can get quite tiring, actually, to be honest with you.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. I was interested as well, because I think this is an important topic. I dropped into a little bit of a podcast with you on last night, but you spoke about your experience with Vipassana that was directly related to this. I was wondering if you could share that as well, because I think that would really land the point home as well for everyone listening.
Yeah. So I've been to Vipassana twice, and Vipassana is a 10-day silent retreat where no phones, no books, not even yoga. You are really with your own self, observing, witnessing the mind and the body until magical things happen. But it's hard. And my own experience, it was hard. So the first time I did Vipassana, I was going through depression. I'd just gone through a breakup, so my heart was torn, losing someone that I loved. And so I went to Vipassana, and on day 5, So every day you meditate for over 10 hours a day. On day 5, we're sitting in a big meditation hall with like 80 other meditators, and my own darkness that was so well hidden inside of me, which is why I was so depressed, but I hadn't really given space to face myself. I was always just distracting myself. Now I was facing myself. This voice came up and it said to me, it was really dark. It said, Natalie, don't worry. If you don't get through this, you can go and hang yourself in a hotel room like you've done in a past life. Now, this was a visceral experience. My whole body started like shaking, convulsing, crying. The teachers had to come get me and take me to the back. They were spraying me with some sort of like essential oil water. And when I could speak again, I said, am I ever going to have that darkness again? And they said, when you face the darkness, it dissolves. And so it's so true. When I left that Vipassana, I've never had depression again. Yes, I felt sadness. That's an emotion. But depression's like a long attachment. I was attached to depression. And I healed that through facing like the darkness that was in me. It was powerful. So the second Vipassana that I went to was a very different experience where I'd been working really hard on myself, like maintaining awareness every day. And so I had some profound experiences where I actually dissolved the body and the mind and went back to source, which is infinite stillness, and then came back from that and got to understand what emotions are at the level of the some atomic particle, that every emotion is made up of air, fire, earth, and water. And I got to witness that, like, why we cry or when we sweat or like when we have rage and we get hot, and that it's all the elements moving through our system. So it's fascinating.
It is fascinating. Thank you for sharing. And what would you say to people that start comparing and going, well, I've never had these experiences. I don't feel anything. Or, like, because it's so easy to let our minds go to, well, that's easy for you. You channel, you're doing all these things. You were born into experiencing certain aspects of ourselves. What do you say to people that kind of go down that route with their mind?
I'll say I totally understand you. And if you can, in the moments when the mind comes in and it's being hard on you, create a little bit of distance with it by recognizing that you are not that thought that's coming in, and that you actually are something so much more expansive and light. And so that will create a bit of space. And then to recognize that each of our journeys is absolutely beautiful and unique. Imagine consciousness wanted to have the same experience trillions of times. That's not what consciousness is doing here. Consciousness is creating all of us as an individual, unique experience. So then I invite you to go inside and recognize how are you perceiving reality? How are you experiencing reality? And become aware of if there's any part of your mind that's blocking you, because you are consciousness, you are the infinite light. And so it's about remembering it. And as you remember it, you recognize that which you're not. You're not those negative thought patterns. And as you recognize, and sometimes I'm like this, no mind, I'm not feeding that belief. No, you have to be really strict with it and do that. And as you say no to those thought patterns, those patterns dissolve. And as they dissolve, you will start to have mystical experiences. You're bound to experience it if you dissolve the clutter that's blocking you from your infinite self that is here.
Clean out the cupboard and it'll come naturally, huh? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just to put a bow in this podcast and come back to where we started, really, was that what I feel as we close, but what would you suggest to people to navigate these times? What can we be doing just to work with it as opposed to push up against it? And
Yeah. So what's happening is it's quite exciting. So be excited about it. Like, allow yourself to enjoy that we are in a time on earth of great awakening, because your soul especially heard the frequency call of Mother Earth. Your soul felt it, heard it, and knew, I need to be down there. I need to be on earth during this time of awakening, because one day in the future, awakening will no longer exist because no one will fall asleep. So thoroughly enjoy it. Like, it's not about the destination. It's about like really being present with this actual experience. What an opportunity to be a human, waking up and remembering all of our gifts and creative powers. And another thing is to recognize that we're going through a great perception expansion, and to recognize where you are within it. So third dimensional perception is still when our mind has it's bringing in a lot of fears, it's bringing in control patterns, survival patterns, scarcity. Also, if we're in third dimensional perception, we could also be blissfully ignorant and very attached to our character, just thinking we are the character. So that's third dimensional perception. Then we've got fourth dimensional perception, which I feel like most people here will know about and experience. It's where you see through a clearer, more open mind, and you see the positive growth in situations. And then sometimes you get knocked from time to time. You have an emotional meltdown. You have mental loops. You feel things physically. But you're able to kind of catch yourself quicker and be able to help yourself with tools and support. And then what's happening in this world as we expand, we're moving into more of the fifth dimensional perception, which is the expanded heart. And here there's deep gratitude for being alive, being spirit in form, like actually being in a body, and you get to experience yourself as human with eyes wide open. You're not asleep. You know what's going on here. You know that this is a mind-made dream, and you are consciousness dreaming yourself into a physical reality. And so what can help people here is if you are in a dimension that's more contracted, in the third dimension, if you're going through some difficult times, then just remember, oh, I'm the one that's creating this reality. I can shift this. I can actually take a deep breath in of light and breathe out this energy, and I can consciously choose. And so how this could look, let's bring it nicely into 3D. Say you hate your job. You're like spiritually evolving, and you just want to now become a healer, and you feel miserable. Now, first of all, allow yourself to experience the misery. Give yourself 10 minutes to cry and feel and allow those emotions. Emotions are energy, emotion are frequency waves. Allow them to move out and through. Don't attach to them or resist them, just witness them. And you'll feel like after 10 minutes, you'll feel a bit of a spaciousness, a bit of like an opening. And then in that opening, you'll be able to, basically you'll be able to move your awareness, your perception into more of a gratitude frequency. So then you could say things like, okay, I have a job. I have money, I can pay the bills, I can buy food that I enjoy. So you're switching your perception. You still don't like your job, but you're managing to switch your perception, which raises your frequency. And then, because you've raised your frequency, your outer reality will open up new opportunities for you. So instead of trying to be in the negative frequency of, I hate my job, I've got to try find another one, you've now shifted your frequency, and now you're like, let's see, I'll be curious what comes in. And then there will be opportunities that start to open up for you because you're in a higher vibration. So yeah, it's the power is within you, and you can use your awareness to shift your reality.
Yeah, it's up to us. No, well, thank you for sharing that. Well put. It made me think of A Course in Miracles, and it says a miracle is a shift in perception. And that really helped me once I started to understand that, because at any given point, we can start to have enough awareness to how could I perceive this differently in this moment. And, which is what it's all about at the end of the day, that metacognition. Natalie, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure listening to your wisdom and also some of your journey as well, which I appreciate. And I think this podcast will really land for people today. Where can people find out more about you and your work if they want to hop on over?
Well, I have 3 places or spaces that I am very welcoming and very supportive. So the one place is my website, which is natalienamaste.com. And you can go and enjoy the energy there. You'll see there's a free meditation to raise your frequency and put you in a protective bubble of light. Wow, I just heard the whole frequency shift as I said that. And there's loads that you can go. There's like a book now button. You can see I offer loads of group sessions and courses. So there's lots of support. And then my YouTube community, I often get people asking me questions, and I do like these energy updates. So like I can tap into the collective field and kind of sense what's coming and give people tools and support for like the waves of change, because for sure these next 2 years there's going to be breaking down of the old patterns, and our outer world is going to change a lot. So we need the support. And also there's so much more light coming in. So to be able to embody the light, I feel like it's my duty. I need to really support people and to not be scared of holding this light in, and to be empowered with it. So my YouTube's all about that, and it's Natalie Namaste Healer. And then the other place is my Instagram, which is Natalie Namaste with an _. And that's like short, powerful tools to help with being a soul as a human. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Natalie. I appreciate your time. Thanks, my lovely.
Oh, such a pleasure. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste.